Hey everyone, Mango7Roll here. How we doing today? Welcome to another episode of Epic 7, and I kind of want to have a fun one today. I've been doing Guild War a lot, and I just kind of want to talk about the game since a lot of people have been asking me questions about the game and, you know, who to use, who to Molagora up, that sort of thing. And I wanted to kind of talk about ways to make 4 stars better, I guess, is what we're going at. We're going to do kind of like a tier list. Y'all love tier lists. You know, you put tier in the word, everybody's like, tier list, let's go. So we're going to do something like that. We're actually going to do like a top 5. And what we're going to be looking at today are the 4-star units in the game and how to either make them better and or usable, or ways to make 4 stars better in general. I personally am a massive fan of 4 stars in this game. A lot of people have been playing Dislight and have been telling me how awesome it is for them to be able to use their 3 stars and 4 stars all the time and compare them even to 5 stars in a lot of cases. And I feel like that's something Epic 7's been missing, and I would love to make that a better, you know, a better route for us to do, especially with all these amazing 4-star Moonlight units we have, right? So let's take a look at Purgus here. I think Purgus is one of the ones that has the inner workings of a way to counter those high speed units, and that is, you know, do something when they do something. That's the only way to counter them in the current state of the game. I don't like it. It's just where we're at, right? So if you're not familiar with Purgus, he's got the speed debuff on his skill 1 and the combat readiness decrease on his skill 2. He has a 20% chance to counterattack, and this does go up to 30% when he is attacked here, and it attacks all enemies with an AoE stun for 15% chance here. Pretty low, but it is still a decent chance, right, when you're targeting 4 different people. And then a skill 3 Fauna Blow is an AoE with a 50% chance to stun, and if the target has 30% or less HP, it is a 100% chance to stun. So looking at this kit, you kind of imagine what you want to see from Purgus here. Number 1, you want him to be able to interrupt, and with this kit he's not able to interrupt. So let's find a way to do that. The easy way is just to go to Smile Gateway. So what I think they could do to make Purgus one of the better units and able to actually produce results in this meta would be to make him go immediately after either he's attacked for the first time of battle, or make it so he does non-attack skills as well to help do the Conqueror Lilius thing. So for example, have Purgus immediately get a turn after an enemy uses a non-attack skill. It wouldn't make him too overpowered. It would make him able to help countering Para and Lilius. It would allow him some way. They could word it some way so that they could kind of cut in between Lilius's first and second turns. They could do so many things. And then after that, you're not super overpowered, right? It's not guaranteed still. You still only have that 50% chance to stun for a turn here. So there's tons of things you could do, and you still would need some way to get rid of immunity. So you're not guaranteed to even counter here, but in certain situations you'd have a fantastic way to maybe bring them in. If you know who you're fighting against, if you're in a guild war and they're scouting, if they don't have immunity, stuff like that might make somebody like Purgus useful. And on top of that, you could even go one step further once he gets an exclusive equipment, which every character should at this point. I think it's wrong that they're not, but you could find some way to dispel buffs on people with his exclusive equipment. You could find some way to increase the stun rate here. You could find some way to make this change, like instead of 30% or less, have it be like 80% or more. You know, you could do so many different things for that 100% stun rate. Because right now he's kind of used as somebody who sits there and counterattacks, and eventually when they're under 30% health, you're going to be stopping them, right? So that's my first target, I guess, slot number 5, and who I really want to see changed, and who I would love to see in the battle. Especially, I would love to see more Ray Chase as well. Next up, let's talk about Kiwana. And for those of you who don't know, I have a +10 Kiwana. I love her to death. I think she's one of people's favorite designs. People love her, right? Like, she's so cute, happy, she's got a cool ability, everything's great. One thing people really dislike about Kiwana is the fact that all allies are fire elemental heroes here, and when all allies are fire elemental heroes here. And this is both a good and bad thing. Number 1, I personally don't think it is a bad idea to have things that are only working well when fire elementals are here, but I think it needs to be an exceptional ability, right? And this is just a regular or less than regular ability. If this was exceptional, then the penalty of having only fire units would be okay, right? And I know a lot of people are like, Violet's not a problem anymore. We can easily handle him. Trust me, for a lot of players, I would say like the vast majority of players, somebody like Violet is still a problem. So having somebody like Kiwana who gets wrecked by Violet is not exactly an ideal situation, right? That kind of nullifies the ability for her to be brought into battles against certain people, because you're looking for earth units to target, right? Obviously with fire teams, but you can't really target the Violet. She does have amazing speed. I think she's 123 speed, but her defenses are extremely low. Her attack is extremely low as well. But she does have the base crit. So what we can do here, if we take a look, number one, she doesn't have a exclusive equipment, which would be major. Number two, the main problems when I personally used her was one, not landing this rough welcome on somebody like Violet, because rough welcome here dispels 2 buffs, and then it stuns for 1 turn, and when all fire elemental heroes on your team, increases CR of all allies by 20% and damage proportionate to her speed. So what I think this should personally do is when all elemental heroes are fire, actually what I think this should do, period, is all of this regularly. That should just be in her kit so you can use her outside of this. And then when all heroes are fire elemental, I think it should ignore elemental resistance and be unable to miss. That might be overpowered. You might say you might be overpowered, but at the same time, look at her HP. She's got none. She's got no defenses. She's so squishy compared to others. Also for casual introduction here, and this is what you use to lead into her skill 3, I would like this to just happen, period, you know, and then you can use her anywhere. And then if all allies are fire elemental heroes, have it so she can't be countered, or perhaps always make it can't be countered with the skill nullifier here. And then if all allies are fire, make it so it increases the attack of all allies. So keep one thing locked behind that all allies are fire, otherwise let everybody have it. Alternatively, if you don't want to go cannot be countered, which is dangerous, because honestly, I've used her quite a bit. You use casual introduction, you get your skill nullifier, Violet counterattacks you, Rem counterattacks you, she's dead, right? There's no getting around that. But what you could also do is go one step further and give all fire elemental heroes greater attack instead of regular attack. That would make her exceptional, and not only for PvP, but also for PvE. The goal here is not to make everybody insane for PvP, it's also to make them viable in other situations. And then at the start, we have the bleeding, which doesn't really do anything, right? Bleeding with no sort of interaction with bleeding as well is not ideal. So perhaps we can change this too to make it a little bit better. Maybe go from bleeding to a debuff or a buff to herself, like self speed buff, or perhaps make it so it can attack a couple times somehow. I'm not sure what they could do here, but they could definitely do something. And then when we have the exclusive equipment, we can just tweak it a little more. Like, let's be real. We can either make her focus towards PvP with the EE, or another one that focuses towards PvE. I really think Kiwana is a fantastic unit. She's a fun unit. She's exciting to use. She's got insane animations, and I really think she's underrated. And we talked about Molagora before as well, and she's another one that is absolutely so important to have Molagoras up. She doesn't even have minus cooldowns or anything, but it doesn't matter. Actually, she does here, but it doesn't matter because the amount of damage she does is so small that she needs every Molagora she can get to get those kills. Otherwise, she's not going to. And let me tell you, go look at my old videos, because she's not going to without max Mola. The amount of times I lost because this wasn't maxed or this wasn't maxed is insane. So that's number 4. Let's take a look at number 3. Okay, so you might be saying, Mango, why are you looking at Tempest? Are you an idiot? She had such a good time. She was so good. And now she's not. She's not good anymore. And the reason why she's not good anymore, among many other things, is the amount of multi-hits and or additional effect hits that are currently in the meta. So for example, we have Rem attacking twice. We have Huayang attacking and then blowing up after and or burning after. We have all the dual attacks from Lilius. We have all of the things, like quite literally everything now does extra on top of their regular attack. I can't think of more, but every time you use somebody. You've got Spirit Eye Celine with Dust Devil. You've got so many things that just do additional, which makes it so her reduction in hits is very, very hard. And this is a character we could probably easily bring back into the meta, or at least make her useful, because so many people already have her Mulagorod, right? So it's not going to have to fix that problem because so many people already have her available. So I don't know if her damage needs to be changed or anything like that. I'm not familiar with that enough. Her skill 1 and her skill 3 here. But what I am familiar with is her skill 2. And I think one of the things that you could help with this is change it from damage suffered in one attack does not exceed 51% of the health to something like damage does not exceed 51% of the health. Only the first damage is... How do I word this? You know what I'm trying to say, hopefully. But make it so any additional effects do not do damage. Find a way to do that. If, like, for example, if Huayang has her burn artifact, not a burn artifact, the extra damage artifact or something, have it so the first hit does damage, and then every other additional effect is nullified. So if Lilius dual attacks, she'll get hit by the first hit, but the second one doesn't immediately kill her. Because right now, she'll just go from 100 to 0 from literally anything, right? So that would be a really cool way to get Tempest Surin back into the meta. I'm not sure how they would word it, but it would also stop all sorts of additional effects, right? Like maybe make her not take damage from counterattacks somehow by making her only take damage from direct attacks or AoE, but not additional attacks like extra stuff and like dual attacks, like extra artifacts. I'm not sure how to word this, but you understand what I'm trying to say, and I really do think it would be a good way to bring her back. Allow a little bruiser type character to come in, maybe get it going, and she's still not going to be great, right? Like, she's still not going to be fantastic because there's so much that is just going to stomp her still, but it'll make her usable, and that's a good thing. Not every character needs to be OP, but being able to use a character is probably pretty great. And I can tell you, with the amount that my Spirit Eye Celine dies with all her life steal and counterattacks and dual attacks and immortality, that T-Surin can't possibly live much in this meta. Okay, am I biased? Yes. Do I like Kiwana? Yes. Do I want to use Kiwana more? Yes. So let's think of ways to make Great Chief Kiwana a little bit better in my number 2 slot. And the reason why I was thinking about Great Chief Kiwana is I wanted to pick a dark unit here, and there's so many characters that have been around for a while, right? Like, we've got Sita Miniel, she's had her time to shine, she still does insane damage, she can still be used. We've got Oxlot, same thing. Like, we've got Sinful, same thing. We've got Zerato, same thing, all used relatively well. BBK just got a change. You know, I was looking at all these characters, and the only one that hasn't really had a place at all outside of PvE, specifically in Katie's, has been Greater Kiwana. I'm sure there's others, but that's the one I was looking at. So her kit is actually not terrible when you look at it from a PvE sense, or PvP sense. We've got her skill 3, Great Chief's Devotion here, which dispels 2 debuffs from all allies, grants increased speed and barrier for 2 turns, and also barrier strength equal to her attack, and also grants an extra turn. We then have her passive here, which increases her crit chance, and when an ally is attacked by a dual attack, increases the attack of the caster by 15% and can stack up to 5 times. So we also have Vertical Cut, which is just a restrict with a 75% chance, and when it targets a light enemy, it is another 75% chance, but it's a 2 turn. We also see our base speed is relatively slow here at 106, which is one of her problems. Also, she has low defenses here, kind of okay HP, kind of okay defense, but she does have the insane base crit. So one of the things I would think about when using somebody like Great Chief Kiwana is to make her more versatile, right? Like right now, it's only dual attacks. I don't think that's enough. That's so RNG. You're only really, like, can't rely on that, right? Like, you've got the Lilius, and that's about it with the dual attacks. Otherwise, you're just relying on RNG, and if they dual attack you, you're like, well, I'm dead anyway, you know? Because that's such a fair mechanic. Don't be salty, Mango. So what I would like to do here is change when an ally is attacked by a dual attack, extra attack, whatever they call them now. Basically, attacked by anything outside of somebody's turn, I would love increase the caster to increase. The other thing as well here is this is actually a potentially great way to counter a lot of the other debuffers right now. So we'd love to have her find a way to interrupt that, right? Like it's not like ML Cowrick, who's got the beefy stats and everything like that that can interrupt and tank and do all this stuff. Even if she kind of interrupts, she's still so brittle that, you know, like she's not wearing any clothes. Of course she's brittle, right? It's going to be so hard for her to survive. So what I would also like to do with Great Chief Kiwana, and a lot of my solutions are very similar, unfortunate. That's just how we have to do stuff now because of how they've balanced their characters, right? So one way is to have her interrupt somehow. You know, we could give a CR boost once per battle even. Like you could say she's motivated to help her teammates, you know? So once per battle, at the start of battle, kind of like Beliant, she starts with 50% CR. Or I don't know the number, but starts with enough CR so that at 200 speed, she can sit at like 250 or something like that. I know that sounds ridiculous, but she needs the stats. She doesn't have the stats to really be usable at her current state, which is a major problem, right? The other thing I would like is to have this dispel here is great, speed great, barrier great. All of this is fantastic. I honestly think those are the two changes. Just pile these into motivation here, and that way at the start of the battle you boost yourself up. You can then try to interrupt after the Sea Lilius, after something else. One of the problems in Guild War is she's a dark unit as well, so she's not going to be she's going to be targeted by provoke. So maybe she can start the battle off with stealth as well, have just a huge motivation, because it actually does make sense because all of her passive is based upon allies getting attacked, right? So perhaps starting with stealth would help her not be provoked, and other situations like that. We also have the CR right at the start of battle not being restricted, so we also have the benefit there. You could add like after an enemy uses such and such, you do this, but then you have to dispel buffs on her as well because of restrict. So I think that would be a solid way. She does a ton of damage. She has pretty sick protection here, and I like having her. I think she would be a great addition. I don't think she'd be good at that point still, but I think she would be usable. And let's go on to number one. Okay, hear me out, okay? I know she just came out, but she's super adorable, and I want to use her more. And I found that she just hasn't had enough potential either. In her base stats have been very difficult. Like, even with these defenses, it feels like she doesn't have enough. So there's a couple things I want to do. When I did use Bad Cat Armin, I found that there were like 3 major problems. Number 1, I found like she didn't do enough damage and also didn't tank well enough. Number 2, I found that her counterattack / crit damage buff was not useful enough, you know? And number 3, she just got debuffed so easily, or the front line got debuffed so easily, that neither was really helpful enough to do anything. So the first thing I want to do is have her support more than she already is. So number 1, I would like Catch'em to be switched to 50% instead of 40%. Maybe that's too much. Maybe we'd have to tweak it. Maybe that's not enough for something that their entire kit relies on it. Maybe we can make it more. So for example, one of the things we could do is make her anti-AoE. So we could have it so she has a 40% chance to counter when she's attacked, and then increase the rate by 60%, so up to 100% when she is attacked by an AoE. So that's one way that you can bring her into somebody like Piera, any sort of AoE, and have her guaranteed to actually do something. That would be fantastic. Number 2, while she's throwing a tantrum over here, we can try to find a way to protect the front line better. And we could do something really weird and unique and make it so she takes all the debuffs that the front line takes, for example. Like, I don't know how they would word it, but have debuffs apply to Bad Cat Armin instead of the foremost ally. So this would basically give your foremost ally permanent immunity without being dispelled, all attached to Bad Cat Armin for the entire battle while Bad Cat Armin is alive, making her fully that selfish shield bearer here. This way, You could have a ton of different ways you could build her. For example, you could build her really tanky still. You could ignore her damage. You could build her with a ton of ER, so that way when the debuffs are transferred or placed on her instead of the foremost, she has a chance to resist both of them, right? Both the debuffs on her and the ones on the foremost ally. I think that would be a fantastic way to make her guaranteed to do something in a battle while also protecting your frontline unit. The other thing is, I think, is this it? Yeah, haha, is kind of needing to be changed quite a bit. One of the things you could do is, before granting speed to the caster and the foremost ally for 2 turns to keep on that theme, and bearer to all allies for 2 turns, that could be another thing. I don't want to take away the identity of this skill because she is selfish, obviously, and she doesn't really want to buff everybody, so it doesn't really make sense. But she does have the partner she's protecting or something like that. Like her bodyguard, it's like a reverse bodyguard situation. I don't even know what to call it. You know, she's such a weird character. But that's a way to kind of get her into the meta while also having her guaranteed to do something and not just fail. I have used her quite a bit. I'm not sure if anybody else has had success with her, but I think she has about a 0% win rate for me. Which is not a win rate you want to be. She's a warrior, right? Bad Cat Armin. Yeah, I have her +9 here. You can see she has no skills. She also has the weirdest imprint. Like, they want her to do damage, but she doesn't really do damage as well. So she's all over the place, and I really think they need to figure this out. Perhaps even changing this imprint to effect resistance or something like that. Or maybe going one step further and having her, like, add it to catch him here is like Bad Cat Armin gates 100% of her crit rate as effect resistance. Something stupid like that, you know? These are ridiculous ideals, and I want to make that clear. This is just me throwing darts at a wall, trying to get an idea of the current situation of the game, try to find a way to make characters like Bad Cat Armin more fun, and just overall trying to bring a little bit of excitement into ideas of what can happen. So what I'd like to do in the comments down below, let me know what you think should be changed. Who you would like to see as 4 stars. 4 stars specifically. We're talking about 4 stars because they're the ones that are kind of in the troubled state right now with the not wanting to mola them, not being able to use stigma, that sort of idea. So yeah, let me know. Tier list / top 5 list. Again, all personal opinions. So, you know, if something's too OP or not too OP, that's not the point. The point is throwing ideas out there to get an idea of what they can be. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe as always, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everybody.